Hi guys, welcome to Salt and Light. If you're new to the channel, my name is Kev and I'm building a Dudley Dix design 47-foot catamaran here in Japan. It's funny how when you're boat building, sometimes your mind plays tricks on you, and this is the case with today's video. It was a job that I'd been putting off for a few months, but I knew I had to get in and do it. I knew it was going to be a little more difficult than I would like, but I just had to do it. As it turned out, last November, everyone at home got COVID, and so I was going to spend a lot of time at the boathouse. But also, because we have a few guys that are a little bit more mature, I told them to stay away for a couple of weeks just to make sure that I wasn't carrying anything that could infect them. I wanted to make sure that I keep these guys safe. So I thought, here's a good opportunity. By myself, I can sort of close myself in and just get this job done. So we're going to look at the bow lockers and finishing them off. It's actually quite good because this week I have actually just finished the painting of those lockers. So they've had 2 coats of epoxy. They've had a couple of coats of I'm using a Kanze paint, and it's a bilge paint undercoat. It's what I've used in the tank areas, and also on top of that a white epoxy paint that's gone on top of it. So that's had 3 coats of white paint on there. So now they're all done and finished, and I can start putting the stringers on for the decks. But one of the things that this building lacks is that it's a little bit dark, and I wanted to do something with lighting, and I didn't want to go and buy lots of lights to light up the place. I was sitting at my desk, I was having a coffee, and I was looking up and thinking, what can I do? And we've got these, I looked at these beams and I thought, I wonder. And so what I've done is I've built a couple of cars to run along the beams, and I've attached some lights onto them, and now I can just drag those lights up and down the hull wherever I'm working, and I have really good lights, so I was really happy with that. Getting on to the bow lockers, now the very forward compartment is only accessible by the compartment in front of it. There'll be a hatch, and you've seen the ladder that I was making to be able to make that accessible from the hatch. That compartment where the hatch is, on the design, it didn't have any lining, it just had the exposed stringers. I was looking at it, I think, I just think that when you're dropping things down there, whether it be sails or fenders or things like that, having the stringers just gives that opportunity for things to get caught, and I think it's the last thing you want to be doing is dragging something up and it gets caught onto a stringer and doesn't come up. So I decided to line that section of the compartment, which meant putting in some foam and putting in the plywood. There'll be another video showing how I did the whole lining process later, but it just meant that it added extra work, but I'm glad I did it. I think it looks really good, and I think will be really practical and usable going forward. So hope you enjoy this video of us preparing the bow lockers. So one of the first things I had to do is to fit the sole, and as you can see it's pretty tight and cramped in here, and there's only really one way for me to be able to put this piece in. and that's by standing in the middle of the hole. So once I was happy with the fit, I removed it later and glued it into position. I was able to do the fillets on one side once I put the side panels on, but the second side, or the outside skin, obviously I couldn't get into put the fillet in, so I've got to do that now. So there's a panel that goes on top of this stringer, and that creates a crash barrier cavity within the bottom of the hull. And I've already given everything 2 coats of epoxy already when the hull was upside down. I just got to get these fillets in, so I've cleaned up the joints, sanded them down. Just need to get the fillet in now. Now once I had the sole panels fitted in and glued in and bulkhead fillets done, I'm ready to do the fillets on the stringer. So a little bit of sanding, a bit of cleaning up, just to make sure that it's a nice neat finish. And once I had a nice prepared surface, I applied epoxy to the joints where I was going to be putting the fillets. One of the things I wanted to do was add a cover strip to the opening to the next compartment. The bulkhead is only 12 mils, so I wanted to add some thickness to it just to make it a nicer feel when you're crawling in and out, give it a bit of thickness and also a bit of aesthetic appeal as well. I didn't film it, but to make the cover strips I clamped on some plywood to the bulkhead and ran my router around the inside of the opening, which gave me the inside shape. I then set up a board with a router bit and a pin at the desired width of the cover strip. So using the pin as a guide, I was able to run the pieces around and cut them to the desired width that I wanted. I made one piece like this and used it as a template, and one of the joys of the kit being CNC cut is all the openings are exactly the same size. So I was able to use this one as a template and cut all the others exactly the same. And I use the exact same technique to create the bottom piece. So I just cut the top and bottom pieces and then just used a straight piece of ply between the two pieces to create my cover strip on each side of the bulkhead on the opening. Once I'd glued them in, I ran the router around to give a nice round edge onto the pieces, and they came up pretty good, I think. So at this point, all the fillets are in, the sole panels are glued in, the cover strips are in, and I've given it 2 coats of epoxy resin. I wanted these compartments to be white. So in order to do that, I needed to get an undercoat on top of the epoxy. So after sanding and washing down the epoxy, I gave it 2 coats of the bilge paint, which also is an undercoat or a primer. And then on top of that was 3 coats of the white epoxy paint. Yeah, it took me a little while to work out the best technique on how to paint these compartments without boxing myself into a corner and being able to also climb out. I eventually got it, and I'm really happy with the end result. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I tell you what, I'm really glad that side of it is over. And now I can get on to building the rest of the boat. Stay tuned, there's more coming, and we'll see you in the next video.